Now, next on Outside Source, we're going to learn how a global team of astronomers have announced they found what could be evidence of life elsewhere, and not on Mars, but on the much more inhospitable planet Venus. Venus has long been considered Earth's mysterious twin, similar in size and composition but vastly different in its environmental conditions. For decades, Venus was shrouded in mystery, regarded as a scorching, uninhabitable world cloaked in thick clouds of sulfuric acid and crushing atmospheric pressure. Yet recently, long-hidden images captured by Soviet probes have emerged from Cold War archives, revealing strange, unexplained features that have sent shockwaves through the scientific community. These photos suggest there might be more to Venus than the barren inferno, the forgotten planet that should have been explored. Most people are familiar with Mars, the red planet that has captured the imagination of scientists, writers, and explorers for decades. Yet Venus, often called Earth's sister planet, has been largely ignored in modern planetary exploration. The reasons are clear. Venus's surface temperature reaches nearly 900 degrees Fahrenheit or 475 degrees Celsius, hot enough to melt lead. The atmosphere is thick with carbon dioxide and sulfuric acid clouds, creating a toxic, suffocating environment with a surface pressure roughly 90 times that of Earth, akin to being 3,000 feet underwater. During the early space race, the United States and Soviet Union divided their focus. The US set its sights primarily on Mars, seeing it as a more promising candidate for life and human exploration. Meanwhile, the Soviet Union devoted extensive resources and engineering ingenuity to exploring Venus. Between the 1960s and 1980s, the USSR launched over 30 missions to Venus under the ambitious Venera program. Venera 7 made history in 1970 by becoming the first spacecraft to land on another planet and transmit data back to Earth. This was a remarkable technical feat, but the mission lasted only 23 minutes before the probe succumbed to Venus's harsh conditions. Later missions, including Venera 9 and 10, returned the first images of Venus's surface, black and white photos showing jagged rocky terrain under a thick orange haze. Despite the risk, the Soviet space program continued to push forward, culminating in missions such as Vega 2 in 1984 that studied the atmosphere with balloons and landers. This perseverance, even as the Soviet economy faltered, speaks to the importance they placed on Venus. But by the late 1980s, much of the world, especially Western nations, had abandoned Venus exploration, favoring Mars instead. Why? Because Venus was seen as a scientific dead end, too hostile, too dangerous, and too mysterious to justify the investment. However, the Soviets never truly stopped. Their secret obsession with Venus hints at something far more significant than just national pride or technical challenge. Could they have found something worth hiding, something that might change our understanding of Venus, and perhaps life itself? What secrets did the Soviet Union uncover on Venus that made them keep their discoveries under lock and key? The Venera program stands as one of the Soviet Union's greatest scientific endeavors, focused relentlessly on unlocking the mysteries of Venus. Over the course of nearly 3 decades, Soviet engineers developed increasingly sophisticated probes designed to survive the planet's extreme surface conditions. The breakthrough came with Venera 7 in 1970, which made history by becoming the first spacecraft to transmit data from the surface of another planet. Though it survived only for a brief 23 minutes, the feat was a monumental achievement for the era. The subsequent missions, Venera 13 and 14, landed in 1981 and 1982, respectively. These probes survived for over 2 hours each and sent back the first-ever color images and audio recordings from Venus's surface. They also conducted chemical analyses of the soil, opening a new window into the planet's geology and atmosphere. But despite these remarkable advances, much of the data collected was shrouded in mystery. Official Soviet releases included only a few grainy photos and limited scientific data. Many images were blurred or cropped, and entire sections of telemetry data were missing. Metadata crucial for scientific interpretation was absent in some cases. While NASA flooded the public with detailed mission data from its lunar landings and Mars rovers, the USSR treated the Venera data as a tightly guarded secret. Western scientists had only fragments to study, fueling speculation and conspiracy theories. Was the Soviet data simply too poor or contradictory to release, or was there something extraordinary within that the Soviets wished to hide? The ongoing veil of secrecy and censorship surrounding the Venera missions has made it difficult to know the true story. What extraordinary information did the Venera missions capture that warranted such strict secrecy? In 2023, a researcher stumbled upon a collection of Soviet-era Venus photos that had never been published, taken by the Venera 13 and 14 landers in 1982. These images were stored on fragile film canisters in a dusty Moscow archive. The majority depicted rocky terrain under Venus's characteristic orange haze. However, some photos stood out due to curious anomalies. Several images were blurred or cropped, and strange shadows appeared where none were expected. Some frames showed patterns that looked artificially scratched out or tampered with, suggesting intentional censorship. When modern artificial intelligence techniques enhanced these photos, even stranger details emerged. Textures resembling biological structures appeared, cluster-like formations and filamentous patterns that did not resemble known geological features. Additionally, there were faint signs of gas emissions escaping from surface cracks, visually resembling phosphine gas, which on Earth is mostly produced by anaerobic microbes. For many decades, the idea of life on Venus was dismissed due to its hostile environment. Yet these newly enhanced images appear to indicate possible biological activity captured by Soviet probes over 40 years ago. The secrecy surrounding these photos begs a question: why were these images suppressed? Could these declassified photos be the first proof of life beyond Earth, hidden away for decades? Venus has often been dubbed Earth's twin because of its similar size and mass. However, its surface environment is incredibly hostile, with surface temperatures reaching nearly 900 degrees Fahrenheit and crushing atmospheric pressure almost 100 times that of Earth. Its clouds are composed primarily of sulfuric acid, making it seemingly inhospitable for life as we know it. This view changed dramatically in 2020 when a team of astronomers led by Jane Greaves at Cardiff University detected phosphine gas in the upper atmosphere of Venus. On Earth, phosphine is primarily produced by microbes living in oxygen-deprived environments. The discovery of phosphine raised a tantalizing possibility of microbial life in the Venusian clouds. Skeptics suggested the detection might be a measurement error or caused by unknown chemical processes. However, subsequent studies using the Atacama Large Millimeter Array in Chile confirmed the presence and persistence of phosphine in the atmosphere. This discovery transformed Venus from a scientifically ignored inferno to a prime candidate for extraterrestrial life. The recently declassified Soviet photos add a striking new piece to this puzzle. The images show unusual haze near the surface, which, when correlated with spectral data from Venera missions, aligned with signatures of phosphine. This suggests that the Soviets may have accidentally captured evidence of life on Venus decades ago but suppressed or discarded the findings. Is phosphine the first clear chemical signature of life beyond Earth, and was it captured secretly by the Soviets decades ago? Why were these discoveries hidden? The Soviet Union space program was marked by an intense atmosphere of secrecy, born out of Cold War rivalries and a desire to maintain technological superiority over the West. Unlike NASA, which widely publicized its achievements from the Apollo missions to the Mars rovers, the Soviets treated even peaceful scientific discoveries as classified state assets. This cloak of secrecy enveloped the Venera program, making it difficult for the global scientific community to access or verify many findings. One might ask why the USSR would withhold data from the public and even from international scientific circles. Some speculate this was mere Cold War paranoia, an attempt to keep any advantage under wraps. Others suggest the data was too complex or ambiguous to share without risking embarrassment or misinterpretation. But the emerging evidence hints at something deeper, that the Soviets might have uncovered phenomena on Venus that challenged established scientific dogma and potentially indicated life in an environment long considered utterly inhospitable. Documents unearthed alongside the photos reveal internal memos advising against the release of certain images due to their inconsistent spectral data and unexplained surface geometry. These bureaucratic decisions effectively suppressed controversial findings, preventing public debate or further international research. The political climate of the time did not favor transparency, especially when discoveries could upend accepted scientific theories or raise existential questions. Furthermore, revealing potential signs of extraterrestrial life could have triggered public panic or geopolitical tensions amid the Cold War's fragile balance. The secrecy surrounding Venera data persisted long after the Soviet Union collapsed. Only in recent years, with the advent of digital archiving and data declassification, have these long-hidden troves come to light. Their contents reignite questions about the true nature of Venus, and the possibility that humanity has overlooked crucial signs of life for decades. What could be so controversial about life on Venus that it warranted decades of silence and suppression?